This
link.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay. And we give the link to Michelle. So if you follow Michelle, you'll find the link. You'll come back and you'll find the link with Michelle.
And it'll be emailed to you as long as we have your emails. We'll have to get those as well. So
when you say it's on YouTube, that's open to anyone or just restricted through this website?
No.
Anybody?
It's open to anybody, and we'll put our YouTube, I'll put our YouTube location, the URL right now in the chat window. So for everybody who hasn't been here before, in the top right hand of the screen, there's a little question mark box. And if you click on that box, you'll see that there's a link in there, and that's to our YouTube channel. And the chat is actually automatically kept on in your computer. You'll find it afterwards in documents. So you don't have to copy it all down. The other thing is, if there's a live link, you can just click on it. It'll open up in your browser, and you can save it later on. So you don't have to worry about copying it all down right now.
are you okay with that? You were asking the question.
I'm not sure, but for today, yes, I'm thinking about it.
Okay, come back to us if you have a question. The best thing to do, Susan, is click on that link right now, and then it'll open up on your computer, and you can save it later.
Okay.
Good thinking.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So so that you all know, we welcome having you here. This is ANCAN's Blood Cancer Support Group. And people here have all kinds of blood cancers. Our moderators that we have right now have CLL and multiple myeloma. And actually, potentially, we will have some other diseases covered within the blood cancer realm by additional moderators, hopefully in the soon future. We're also looking for more AYA participants. Ashley, that's where maybe you can do some outreach, but you look great. It's really good to see you. We missed you with us. So we have, let's see, we have quite a few newbies this evening, which is very exciting. We have you, Susan, we have Lou, and well, although Herb is not new to ANCAN, he is new to this particular group.
Right.
So I would love to know as who has something, as we go around, who has something they would like to speak on this evening, something they'd like to share or talk to the group about, so that we can make sure we allot enough time.
Let's just clarify one little thing, which is that we will speak to each of the new people first. So when Michelle asks you if there's anything you want to talk about, we won't include you because we're going to give you the floor. But Michelle, why don't you go around the balance of the other people?
Absolutely. So Herb, what brings you to our group this evening?
Herb's going to be a new guy, so
I'm going to be a new guy. All right.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Herb's a new guy.
Right.
So,
Even though he is, but he isn't, but he is. Okay, got it. Okay, Herb, we're going to put you on the side for a second and get back to you. So, Ashley, do you have anything that you would like to speak to us about this evening? You've been through some other things during this time away.
Yeah, I had a hip replacement and it's doing well. Recovery is so much better this time around.
Ah.
so we'll come back to you for sure, and we'll get a good update from you. And
That's
I just
right.
endorse that. It's lovely to see you.
Sally, welcome
Yes.
back.
Thank you.
You always have some wonderful things to share. Do you have things that you would like to speak about this evening?
Not particularly. I'd like to welcome Susan. I'm glad she could make it.
Thank you.
I'm doing well. I'm still in full remission. Going to start on a 2,500 mile driving trip next week with a friend.
Wow.
Wow.
If Northern California exists by the end of next week. If it's not a wasteland.
Okay.
Yeah, that is like such good bait for later on to speak to you about where exactly you're going. It kind of says that it right there. All right, Sally. Yeah, I have some questions for you later too, and follow up to some of the things you brought up before. And Lonnie, you have been very quiet. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I had my COVID booster shot a week ago yesterday. That went well, just minor aches and pains and a mild headache, but I'm fully recovered from the shot. I'm part of the LLS study, so I got an email from them today with a survey to fill out, and they'll send me
LabCorp.
yeah, the lab work.
I got one too.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully in a
Lonnie,
month or so.
let's put you in
So
for
I'll
some
be interested to
time.
see. I'll be interested to see what impact the booster has had. But
Yeah,
doing well.
let's give you some time and we can come back and talk about that booster because I think everybody's interested in that. I know Michelle has certainly got a story on the booster.
That I do, and some others may as well. And Seth, we don't see you. I mean, we don't see the video of you. We just see your initials. Are you there?
Are you?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
How are you, Seth?
I'm doing well. I was just cleaning up after dinner, and but I'd spare you that on my camera. Hold on a sec.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello,
Don't let
hello.
that spread out. We may each want you to come over and clean up after dinner.
Take it easy now. I only have so much energy.
Any time for you tonight, Seth. Would you like to come back and talk about anything?
Come back?
Well, after we've been around the new people.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
You're looking good, Seth.
Oh, thank you. I guess I've been getting plenty of sun out on my daily walks.
Great.
Looks good on you.
Great.
Okay. We'll come back to you then. And wait a minute, Jim.
Jim Marshall.
Yes, sorry, nothing for me except for the shot and a booster shot. You know, I can talk about that.
Okay.
Looks like, yeah, we'll be having a discussion on that with a lot of people. And fingers crossed that your sister does join us this evening.
Yes, anyway, I spoke to her and she was just getting up apparently from a treatment that she had like 2 days ago. And so it happened to hit her hard. So I told her anyway to join us. So I hope she will.
Thank you. And Herb, welcome. Even though you're a newbie, but not a newbie, but kind of a newbie to this group. That's why I'm positioning you as our bridge in between the rest of the newbies. Welcome. What brings you here?
You're an old newbie.
Well, I'm a caregiver for somebody with blood cancer, in addition to being a prostate cancer patient. So it's a double whammy.
So Herb, kick us off. Why don't you, because we've got the 3 new people, so and you know the ropes well enough. So why don't you?
I'm here because I need to learn more about what it's like to have a blood cancer. My brother was diagnosed about 6 weeks ago with multiple myeloma. And after, the diagnosis, he was just after basically a regular physical, no physical symptoms. He didn't have any symptoms. Just the blood test came back that he had abnormal kidney function. and then his lambda light chains were through the roof. So that essentially was diagnostic for multiple myeloma. And then after using what I've learned from ANCAN on him, which is that you really want to be treated at a first-rate place by a specialist in multiple myeloma. We got him to talk to several specialists. It's also the case that my wife knows them all professionally because she works with the National Bone Marrow Transplant Network.
Fantastic.
So it's called the BMTCN. So we know a lot of the docs. At any rate, so we got Ken to see docs. The docs really converged on a treatment protocol. I don't know if anybody else on this call has multiple myeloma at this point. So Seth, I don't know if you've heard of the Griffin Trial, but essentially it's the latest trial to publish showing that, induction with 4 drugs is the right way to go. And so he's been getting those drugs, and he had after 3 weeks, they did some blood tests and he responded marvelously. And then as of yesterday, he got more blood tests and he responded even better, to the point where his kidney function is back to normal and his light chains are basically just above normal.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
he's just sort of, worried. And I don't know enough, and I need to sort of be able to help him through this period of uncertainty, because I think we recognize, what's ahead, that he's, that a transplant is likely in his future. And, he's not thrilled about that because of what he heard about autologous transplants and what it entails. So I'm just trying to learn. That's why I'm here. And I'm
So-
happy to answer any questions other than that.
Herb, you mentioned, you called it a Griffin trial.
Yes,
This is his initial chemotherapy?
yes.
Oh, that's very interesting. As far as
I think it's bortezomib and steroids, and I forget the other two.
are they also mad?
One
they
is
all-
a map.
It's Dara, Rev, Dex,
Right.
and
Right.
Velcade.
RVD was standard.
Yeah, they're adding Dara
Right.
to RVT.
Right.
Or, I mean, yeah.
DRVD.
So it's actually he's probably in a phase 3 trial because it's actually been
No,
accepted.
he's not in a trial at all.
Oh, okay. So because you said the Griffin trial, and
Well, it's the
because
results of the
it's
Griffin
been
trial.
passed and accepted as a frontline
Right, exactly. So
treatment
based on
now
those results,
because they're going to quads instead of triplets.
right. So based on the results I read in the Griffin, by looking at the literature, we got them to docs who agreed that the 4-drug regimen is the right way to go.
Yeah, they changed it about 6 months ago from RVD to RVDD.
Ah. Yeah, I thought that one had been passed. So, and he's already doing well. Sally, in your experience with speaking with other patients, do you know how people do, like how long the average time people do well, or is that something that
It's they just started doing the quads. It's been very, very well documented that it brings down the numbers quicker than the triplets because it's a CD38 conjugate. So, you don't know. Unfortunately, multiple myeloma is still not curable and it will come back. So that's why the standard of care is still, a stem cell transplant, unless you talk to Dr. Bernstein, and then Dr. Bernstein says, no, you can go ahead and stay on drugs for the rest of your life. But it all depends on how you're tolerating the drugs and the side effects.
Right. I mean, I will say that one of the people I did consult was since I worked at the NIH, I did consult with the head of clinical cancer at the NIH. And he says that there's a trial at NIH which is curative for MM.
Wow.
So
in
there's one
progress.
right now.
You've got bispecific monoclonal antibodies now, which, they're getting 85 and 90%, complete remission,
Right.
right away. And the CAR Ts are right behind it at 70-some%. So, I think there's a cure in 5 years. So, but I'm,
Yeah.
the jolly good rabbit.
Let's just hope.
I think that you had mentioned, Herb, that this is Susan speaking, that a stem cell transplant seems to be in the future. And I think that does depend on what doctors you talk to.
Well, I think,
I was diagnosed 2 years ago and discussed with multiple myeloma, and am responding really well to the drugs, and looked at the data and discussed it with my local doctor and a specialist at Dana-Farber. And the numbers didn't make sense to do the stem cell transplant. So we put that off, maybe in the future, but the benefit that I would get didn't seem stronger than the benefit I was getting from the drugs.
The most important
So
thing,
far.
Herb, is that he should harvest his cells now, because the longer he's on drugs, the T cells get exhausted, and you don't get
okay.
a good harvest of stem cells, after you've been on drugs for a long time.
Well, that's interesting.
You can store them for a long
time.
time.
Okay. That's a very good piece of advice.
That is, Sally, for many different, different types of blood cancer patients.
If you're going to go through a stem cell transplant of any kind, the earlier, once you get it under control, down from the 85% plasma load down to, 15 to 20%, you can, harvest your stem cells, have them frozen so they're already ready if and when you want a stem cell transplant.
Sally, I just have to say that walking regime is making a difference. I can see in your face, you've lost a bunch of weight, darling, haven't you?
No, but thank you for thinking so.
It looks it.
You do.
It looks it.
Thank you, but it stays exactly the same. My weight is within 2 pounds of what it was during my stem cell transplant. That's 3
Really?
years. Yeah.
Really? Well, you look thinner in the face, so I don't know what you're doing there. Herb, what doctor did your brother select? And
I
where?
forgot her name. She's at Hopkins.
At Hopkins. Okay.
I can find out.
I can look it up. I know. I'm sure I can just go to the Hopkins webpage.
And I was going to say, Sally, what resources would you suggest for, Herb, did you say your brother's name was Ken?
Yes.
Yeah. What resources, patient resources, would you suggest for Ken?
It depends on, what his questions are.
Right.
Wait. Okay, I'm waiting.
And I don't know what I don't know what his questions are. Right.
Right.
I will tell you. Oh, let me look. Oh, he's getting Carol Ann Huff.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of her.
Is she a researcher as well?
Yes. So, I guess, the thing is, his wife is also a physician. So that also means that they have some knowledge and connections. So, I think the questions really are, just like we all know, when you're dealing with a disease that right now is not curable, each of us is different.
Well,
And
the other
so
thing is you've got to learn to relax and breathe. He's gotten through the hard part. He's found a quad drug regime that works. So listen to his doctors, tell him everything that's going on. And there's nothing outside of that he can do except advocate for himself. If he feels he needs another PET scan or something, because, make sure he gets it
Right. I mean,
Would you
the one-
recommend
and join the
myeloma-
groups.
Would you recommend Myelometry or some of those sorts of
Myeloma
sites?
Crowd and Health
Myeloma
Tree.
Crowd.
Yeah,
You-
Myeloma Crowd and Health Tree. For instance, Health Tree will keep track of all his labs from all his doctors and clinics, and they, with their algorithms and everything else, and it's all anonymous. It's nobody knows who anybody else. They can recommend clinical trials. They can recommend the next treatments, because they have a team of about 12 specialists that review all these datas and help with the, information. And there are 322 videos on every subject of multiple myeloma. And I'll put it in chat and the,
Great, thank you.
And it's a fabulous resource from what we've heard from not only Sally, but from others as well.
Right.
And
And
maybe,
Myeloma Crowd, Sally, what does
healthtree.org is where all the, information gets in. And Myeloma Crowd is very many webinars and everything on different subjects. Like I saw the best webinar on bispecifics and CAR T explanations last week, and it's posted now on Myeloma Crowd.
Excellent. Well, Herb, since we've got two other new people, we should probably
move on.
along. Is there anything that you have missed that you want to ask, or is there any connections you need, or I can connect you to Sally for sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, right now, I just want to listen. I just want to learn.
Okay.
Here, I'll even give you my email.
Oh, great, thanks, Sally.
I'm a myeloma coach, if you can't tell that by this.
so let's switch to Lou. Since we were speaking myeloma, let's have a little break over to Lou, and then Susan, I'm really looking forward to speaking with you too, especially you mentioned Dana-Farber. So I want to find out, I go to Dana-Farber personally.
Oh, okay.
Lou, welcome. Now we're what part of the country, what state do you live in?
I'm in the Kansas City, Missouri area, and I go to the University of Kansas for all of my health care. And that's where I went through a stem cell transplant and CAR T, and currently I'm in a CC220 clinical trial with my myeloma specialist, Dr. Abdallah, at the KU Research Center for iberdomide. So that's where I'm located.
How'd that go for you?
So far, so good. My first dose was March 10th, and all of my labs have been very good and showing a reduction in myeloma cells and all of the blood work, as well as bone marrow biopsies.
How are you handling the side effects?
That's tougher. The main thing is the ANC.
Yeah.
It just is wicked at the highest dose with the iberdomide. It's the ANC, they want to keep above 1,000, and mine keeps dipping. I've had it go to 500 twice and 530 once, and currently yesterday when I was there for treatment, it was 104. I mean, I'm sorry, 1,004.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
no, I'd be dead.
No, either that, or I was wondering why you're not in the hospital.
In the hospital. Sorry, 1,004. I'm a little tired. I didn't sleep last night because of the dexamethasone. So
really?
I'm not as sharp today. It starts to I wasn't sure I was going to be able to attend tonight because of no sleep. And I thought I'll probably ramble and not make much sense. And I just did. So
That's okay. I used to bake. I used to bake bread in the middle of the night.
in the middle, I do laundry and clean and that kind of stuff. So my
So
husband
for
said he was
those
going
of us
to stay up
who,
with me last night. And I always have to chase him back to bed to make sure that he doesn't try to feel like he needs to stay up with me. But
so
I've
Lou,
been
for those of us who
I've
don't know
been
the lingo,
diagnosed
what
with
is ANC?
I'm sorry.
For those of us who don't know the lingo, what is
Oh,
ANC?
absolute neutrophil count, which is related
Okay.
to your white cell
Yep,
count.
the neutrophil.
It's a baby white cell.
Right. If you would have said neutrophils, I would have been fine, but
I'm sorry.
I didn't know ANC.
I usually do say it out, and
And for blood cancers, do they give you Neulasta or they don't give you, or they don't?
No, they give it. I had it.
Okay.
I would have it at the end of, so I was on, 2 different treatments at once, full strengths, but at the end of each FCR, fludarabine, cyclophosphamate, and Rituxan, at the end of the week,
Yep.
I would do a week a month. The last day I would get that, the Neulasta. And
The
Yeah.
reason you would get it and we don't get it for multiple myeloma is because multiple myeloma is a plasma cell cancer and your cancer is a white blood cell cancer.
Ah.
Ours is not a white blood cell cancer.
So
It's a B
what,
cell cancer.
right,
So is
but
ours, though.
but
We
would
also have
you
B cell cancer.
but would something like Neulasta help restore the white count for you or not?
They give us sometimes if we get too low, they give give us Neupogen, which
Yeah,
is a stimulant.
That's the same as Neulasta. That's very similar to Neulasta.
Okay.
Neulasta's a trade name.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and now the way they give the Neulasta, I don't know if you had this, Herb, but they put in a pump in your arm.
Yeah, they did. I did not have it. I just got shots.
Okay.
It was interesting.
I just got shots.
My first month, I got a shot, and then the next month is like when they started doing the little pump.
Yeah.
So I must have been at the tail end of, that would have been last quarter of 2015 when they switched over
Right.
the pumps.
So I don't know, Lou. I mean, what happens if that white count gets too low? They just give you a booster that will bring back up your white
I think
count.
my doctor has talked about immunoglobulin.
Immunoglobulin.
That's IVIG. Yeah.
And
Yeah. If it goes below 500.
so there, would they give you
clinical
an
trial?
infusion?
Yeah, and the clinical trial has approved that in case it does go below 500. So it's already in that proposal in the protocol. So if that happens, he is able to do that to help. So, but he's reduced dosed it 3 times. I'm at the 3rd level now.
Oh wow.
Reduced dose. I started out at 3, I think it was 3.5 milligrams, and then it went to 2, I think 2.7, and now I'm at 1.1, I believe, and then it can go down one more time, which I just found out. Celgene has approved it to be able to go down to 0.75, I believe, is the last possible. But Dr. Abdallah does not want to do that if he can help it, because obviously you're not going to get the results in your myeloma test if you keep going down in the dosage. It's slowed down already going down to these lower doses. So he's hesitant to go down to that 4th level unless he has to. I think he would rather do the immunoglobulin shots.
IVIG is for your globulin, not your white cells. Has nothing to do with white cells.
ANC,
It's for your IgG, IgA, and IgM.
IgG. That's,
Yes,
I'm just saying the wrong thing, but
No.
the infusion is what he said he would rather go to before he reduced dose.
Yeah,
But-
I have IVIG every 3 months because
Yeah.
my IgG after 3 years is still less than 400.
Yeah,
Normal is yeah.
I've never had it done. So
Oh, it's easy.
Yeah, I get it every
easy
month.
cake.
yeah, I've not heard anything bad about it, but I just, it's just not something I've done before.
So
But
Lou, the
I was
rate that
diagnosed,
it's-
by the way, in 2013. So I've been at this for 8 years.
A while.
Wow.
Did you know that for every infusion for a patient, it takes more than 1,500 donors to get that serum to put into you? 1,500 people for each of our doses.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. So,
And
Lou, let me how are you feeling from this treatment? Fatigued? Is what how is it manifested this
Other
white?
than the ANC issue, it's fatigue. When I was on a higher dose, I was, feeling like 2 naps a day wasn't enough. But as I've reduced, he's reduced dosed, I'm doing okay with 1 nap, 1 nap now. But I'm retired. I was a reading specialist for 39 years and retired in just took a leave before I went through the stem cell transplant, and in 2013, and then for a half a year, and then went back and continued to teach for 6 more years. So I retired in 2019, just before I did CAR T.
Have you do you exercise much or not?
I did after my stem cell transplant. I joined the at the Y. They had Live Strong
Yes.
program, and I did that. The one that was specific for cancer patients.
Yep.
And if your doctor approved it, and I did that, and I think it was that almost the entire summer after my stem cell transplant, and I think it allowed me to go back to teaching that fall with renewed energy. That was something I think I would recommend for anybody if they have it at a local Y, MCA for you. But it was awesome. And their trainers, their coaches there are all trained on specifically how to work with cancer patients. So I'm sure there are some of you that have heard of it or participated. So
yeah, no, it's great.
I would highly recommend that.
And are you still?
I right now just currently walk, in the neighborhood, and haven't used our elliptical bike
Elliptical bike.
like we should. It's in the basement, but
well, we've got a guy
plan.
who uses an elliptical around Central Park in New York, and he swears by it. But I think the only point that I want to make is if your doctor agrees, if you can get some of that exercise in, and you can try and make it part of your everyday, then you're gonna feel. I know it's counterintuitive, but you will feel so much better.
No, we totally. I mean, I know, I know what I should do. Sometimes the fatigue just, overwhelms you right now with the clinical trial. But but we still walk. I mean, we don't walk every day. When we're into it, we do about 3 times a week when we, when it's mostly me, the energy level. But that I find very helpful to get out in the fresh air and just walk in our subdivision. So yeah, I know, sometimes the right things to do. I mean, I've taken, as part of my education degree, I took a lot of classes in nutrition and, early childhood kind of food, the proper things to eat, nutrition classes. So I know, I know what to do, and we do the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
That we've been trying to stick to, and we're pretty good about it. So that part of it, it's just the exercise part of it that we need to step up.
No, I hear you, but we finally I don't know if we convinced or she convinced herself, but we got Sally walking about 2 or 3 months ago, and even Sally's giving a testimony to walking now, right, Sally?
Yep. I'm since this is Blood Cancer Month, Myeloma Crowd has miles for myeloma, or muscles for myeloma, or something like that. And I've committed to walking, more and keeping track of it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, and is it LLS that has the push-up challenge? Or is it a local one maybe? There's a push-up challenge in the blood cancer community, but I cannot recall if it's LLS or another organization. Has anyone seen that? It's a former, well, it's a Marine, right? I can't say former. Once a Marine, always a Marine. There is maybe I missed it. Maybe it already happened, but it is Blood Cancer Awareness Month. And Sally, thank you. I should have introduced with that, because it is our month that we should be thinking and sharing with others about awareness on blood cancer, and to help bring others up to speed, those around us, what it means. Susan, we have you last but not least here on our newbies. Please let us know, where are you, and you're under treatment?
Okay, I live in Washington, D.C. I've been in treatment for 2 years. I see a local oncologist, and you were interested in Dana-Farber. I also, every few months, see Paul Richardson. And I've been really happy that that's been working out, those two things.
A specialist in DC or a hematologist oncologist?
Hematologist oncologist. And they talk to each other every once in, if we need to. If I come up with a question, I'm very involved in those kinds of decisions and in talking to both of them. My main concern, when this started about 2 years ago, so it was about 6 months before the whole pandemic started. So I was first overwhelmed with the fatigue that was coming, I guess, from the anemia that I had, which is what started my diagnosis, and then the drugs, and then it was hard to know what was fatigue from the drugs, what was from the disease, what was an emotional reaction to all of this happening. So I started working from home, which was before the rest of the world joined me working at home. But the kind of work that I was doing, a lot of it needed to be done. Some of it is, I'm an epidemiologist, and some of it is long-term research or long-term projects, but also some of it is, I was an analyst serving a group of people, and sometimes those questions needed to be answered that day or the next day, and I really wasn't, I didn't feel I could be reliable enough at that to be able to do that. So I took a leave of absence, and then that turned into retirement. I don't know how I would have handled that if I were younger and not at retirement age anyway, because everything it was a difficult dynamic with my illness and then everyone being home from the pandemic. So I am retired. my questions now are, how do we talk about being immune compromised because of the treatment and possibly from the illness itself? And what does that mean as far as precautions for COVID? You know, I've become extremely cautious, and then talk to other people who are much more blasé about it. And I'm wondering how each of you handle that in your lives. You know, I don't want to end up in the hospital, and I don't want to get in a and be sick with no symptoms and then possibly spread that to other people, which is also a risk.
Susan, what
My
treatment?
specialist has said to me and to others, pretend that you don't, pretend that this is the month after your stem cell transplant, which means stay away, stay home if you don't have to go anywhere, wear a mask everywhere you go, and use whatever this stuff is.
Yeah.
You know, get vaccinated, unvaccinated.
Oh yeah, stay vaccinated, get your booster.
Yeah.
But, you know, don't be afraid to go to the grocery store, but, you know, don't go to, you know, Kiss's farewell concert tour.
I can see there.
You know, that was on my chart, right?
Susan, can I ask you, what are you on? Because that can also add a further layer of further being immunocompromised. So what,
I'm on RVG from the beginning, Revlimid, Velcade, dexamethasone, and then a whole bunch of other things that then try to prevent side effects.
Cyclobar.
So, you know, we talked about getting antibodies tested, and that was something where, as a public health advisor, I would tell people, I mean, if anyone asked me, that getting antibody tested is not a good idea because we really don't know what those numbers mean. And but as an individual, I wanted to get tested because I figured the number might not make sense, but knowing whether it was 0 or something would give me some information. And
unfortunately, when you get the information, you wish you hadn't heard it.
it's frustrating, right? You don't know, nobody can tell you. Well, it's just what you said, Susan. What you would tell someone is what we're all being told by people like yourself or people like you driving the answers, right?
yeah.
I guess it is interesting hearing both of your sides' perspectives on that. But so I don't have multiple myeloma. I have CLL, and so those with multiple myeloma can probably speak to you better on that. But CLL, multiple myeloma isn't great when it comes to producing the antibodies from the LLS study. I don't know if you saw the study numbers that came out from their first wave of the study.
No.
But the Sally, do you have a link for that by chance? The
Yeah,
study,
I can look it up.
the percentages of each. So CLL was the worst. Multiple myeloma was probably the next to the worst. They're not great in producing antibodies, but they don't know what that means, as you know.
Right.
And now the booster, a few people were talking about it and they got it. How many here have gotten the booster so far? Sally, you didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was getting your link.
What? Yeah, you got it. Okay. So
I'll raise my hand for my brother.
I'm scheduled to get it next week.
LLS is starting the next phase of this study, by the way, with a booster.
So there are a lot of studies out there. Some centers are having their own studies, like Dana-Farber has a study that I'm in where they will continue to watch patients. LLS, I think, is one before and one after. And each study is different, of course, right? The parameters. For Dana-Farber, they'll continue to follow patients for a year or longer, depending on the status of COVID at the end of the year, to see where they stand. So thank you, Sally. I knew it. I knew you'd have it right there. So Susan, you will appreciate this study immensely because you can do all the links and understand what they all mean in this study. And that'll show you in the first part of their study what they found.
Okay.
And the study was a rather simplistic one, probably, I'd say, right?
We had something like 8,000 to 10,000 people total, of which something like 1,200 or 1,500 were MM. Isn't that right, Lonnie? Didn't you hear that? Or Seth? Who was talking about that earlier? It was Lonnie then. Lonnie.
We can't hear you.
I'm here. No, I don't know. I'm just familiar with the overall results. And
Okay.
yeah.
So, and they're continuing that, and also they're going to be studying T cell immunity. The problem is
and T cell exhaustion as well.
Meaning,
That's what they're concerned about with all these boosters and everything as well.
What does T cell exhaustion mean?
When you are constantly bombarding the T cells with different drugs and the vaccines, the T cells get exhausted and they can't react as heavily and they're not strong anymore.
Right. Herb, I'm interested to know your perspective on this antibody debate, because you bring a professional knowledge to some of this.
I mean, I think that I don't believe that, again, we've said it, I don't think that knowing your level of antibodies, it correlates that well with your level of protection. I mean, but I do think that, I also am debating whether to get a booster because the data do not support, at this point, getting a booster. Even though there's a lot of hoopla about it, they say do it, but there's no data. Susan, you're the epidemiologist. You can look at the data, and there's no data.
I haven't seen any, right? There are news reports of Israeli studies, but I haven't read those.
Right. So, but in the Israeli studies also, we could talk about that from an epidemiological perspective, that who are the people who got the shots first, and they're the people who are probably the fittest and when traveling the most. So, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, again, for population. So I'm debating whether I'm going to get a booster when I'm eligible. I didn't rush to get one because I'm not immunocompromised. So, but on the other hand, we certainly take precautions. When I'm around my brother, we wear masks. We want to make sure he doesn't get hurt.
So Tom Henry, who's not here tonight, who's one of our moderators, if he actually ends up with antibodies from the booster, I'm sold, because he has been his own experiment of one and has received, and he has shared this to this group, so I'm not sharing out of school, but he has received 2 sets of the Pfizer vaccine, thinking if the first 2 didn't work, perhaps he needs the others to help push him along. 0 antibodies after both, and the J&J. And I may be missing, I don't know, Rick, if you remember, or Sally, if he also got Moderna, but I think that was it. So he did get the booster. If he ends up with antibodies from that booster, although that wouldn't be fair to judge, right, because he had so many others, but he had a long wait in between. So he is a case in point about, the jury being out on whether it will produce antibodies if it didn't. But then I heard from a CLL patient in Israel who had no antibodies, was tested a few times on that study, and then she got the booster and now has antibodies. But again, is it enough? Are they functioning antibodies? Will they work?
So the question I have is to Herb and certainly to Michelle, because she has the experiences. What's the downside of getting the booster?
Obviously, you can argue there isn't a downside if you're just going to make more antibodies that might protect you. But I think I think there's, to my knowledge, there's no medical downside.
Michelle?
I think
I would still get it. I know what Rick's after. I had, and I'm still feeling the effects of it. I had it 9 days ago. and I'm still not feeling up to par, but my husband watched it. He said it was an amazing thing to watch from afar, but he saw me go from feeling normal, 10 hours after the booster. I became so incredibly ill, and I didn't have this the first 2 times, and I was shaking. I've never felt so sick, even during chemo. I couldn't get warm enough. I couldn't move. I mean, it was horrible. And then I had the chills, overly hot. It went on for a good amount of, I'd say about 20 hours, and then not as horrible, but a constant headache, aches, and I was good for nothing for probably 4 days. I couldn't function well, my brain, because it was just, it was not good. It was so systemic, but he said to watch the change from seeing someone and all of a sudden, and then to see all the different things that would happen. He said I'm glad he thought it was interesting. For me, it didn't feel so good, but I would still get it if I get something from it, if that something is enough to work. But I still have lymph nodes from the first 2 that never went down. And so I now have new swollen lymph nodes, and I'm curious if they will do the same thing or go down immediately from this one. So that is also something that's interesting that they're not seeing.
And was this the same vaccine, the same brand that you had the first time?
Yes, Moderna. But I've heard from 2 other CLLers, they had the same things basically happen. Like 5-6 days not being well and still feeling exhausted this week. But then there are some others, someone here, Sally, was it you, who was saying that not so bad. And that's how I was the first 2 times. And there's a new study out, I want to say that came out of Sloan Kettering, saying that actually, there's a debate. Does that mean anything, your reaction? And they either came out with one or are about to release it that says that that generally is shown. They're finding that does show that you're going to get a good reaction. So
Also, they found that Moderna works probably 10 to 15% better in producing antibodies than Pfizer.
Lonnie, you had some thoughts and a question maybe on this.
Yeah, well, I'm really interested in Michelle's experience. Michelle, did you recover quickly then, or did it take a while after your 4 days of being ill?
I'm still recovering 9 days later.
Okay.
So I thought I was all better one day. Of course, I pushed it, and the next day I wasn't good for much. I mean, I was functional, but I was a couch potato. I was able to do work from the couch, but I still feel winded easily, which is odd, and fatigued. And that's what I'm hearing from some of the other people with CLL.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
So my experience, I've had Moderna as well for all 3 shots, and my booster shot reaction was very similar to my first shot. Second shot, I had no reaction whatsoever. So I've had rather mild reactions to the shot compared to you, Michelle, and it sounds like others.
So who knows?
Seth, you had questions too about the booster.
Seth, did you have questions?
Oh, I thought you were raised the booster too. Okay.
Someone else I thought did on the booster. No, Sally, we can't hear you.
It was somebody in the very beginning, and I thought it was Lonnie.
It was Lonnie, and then someone else brought up the booster, but we forget who. So I think we're boosted out, and
Yes.
and we definitely want to visit with Ashley and with Seth. Ashley, you've been very quiet. Tell us how you're recovering, how that hip is doing, and you had some issues to begin with, right? I know we hear you went back to the hospital, and what happened? Tell us.
Yeah. So I got my hip done.
Oh, first of all, tell everybody what you have, because people
Oh,
don't know.
I had ALL, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And the high dose of steroids caused avascular necrosis in my hips. Basically, the bone deteriorated. So I've had both of them replaced. My right one was replaced in October of 2019, and my left one was replaced this past June. The right one was just about 6 months after my stem cell transplant. So I was still awake at that point, and recovery was just not a smooth transition. And then COVID hit, so I didn't feel comfortable going to outpatient physical therapy anymore. So I walk with a pronounced limp on my right side. So now recovery for this left hip is exponentially better. I have more energy now, and I'm able to do the exercises more and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm not limping on my left side, which is great, but I am still on the right.
Is that something that will eventually, are they saying will eventually go away with your rehab?
Yeah. As long as I put the work in, it will.
You look as if, I don't know if anyone else is noticing this, but you almost look as brighter, as if like maybe that's due to the pain. You must have been in pretty intense pain before, I would think.
I was in a lot of pain. It was when I went to the doctor, just I knew I needed the hip replacement. I just needed to, do that initial consult. And they took the x-rays and they were like, this is severe. Do you take painkillers? And I don't, because I don't like to. And they were very surprised.
Ashley, I know that well. I mean, when they looked at my hips, they said, this is bone on bone. How long have you been doing this? Well, you get used to it. And, I've been rowing with this. But I mean, in my case, I knew when it was time and I had to have it done. And that's sort of what it is. Your body, you just adjust to it. For me, anyway.
I mean, you live with it. You adapt. Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
I had my knee replaced 4 months after my stem cell transplant.
And how did that go?
It was fine, except I got out of rehab the day the world closed down to COVID, March 13th. So I couldn't go out for physical therapy, so I had to do it all at home. And other than some additional neuropathy from that, it's fine. I wish I'd done it 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody says.
Really, Ashley, do you feel that way? You wish you had done it sooner? Could you have done it sooner? I don't know if you even could have.
No, I mean, I had to do the right one. I had to do the right one when I needed to do it because it was hurting me. And the left one didn't hurt me until the beginning of this year. So I kind of, dealt with it.
Did they do it anterior, Ashley?
No, they didn't. So I talked to my doctor about it, and he said that he didn't have the training in that. He was more than willing to send me for a second consult, but I really like that doctor. So I'm like, whatever, it's fine.
Ashley, quick question. Are you in touch with Farron?
Yes.
How is she doing? I'm almost afraid to ask. Farron, but for those who don't know, is part of our group. And she hasn't been here for a long while and hasn't been doing well.
Yeah, she's not doing great. Last time I spoke with her, she was in the hospital. They had to shock her back. So I kind of just send her a text every once in a while with a funny picture or whatever, and she does appreciate it. So yeah, I mean, if you guys could keep her in your prayers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've certainly been thinking about her a lot. I know Alexa has her on her mind, and so it's great to have that feedback. And you send
Right.
send her our best, and I'll let Alexa know too.
Yeah,
So,
I actually talk with Alexa as well.
oh, good. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
Susan, I want to make sure, are you able to see the chat with the links that Sally included on the different studies?
Yes. What I'm wondering about is once this meeting ends, do I lose this chat? Or like, do I need to
No.
copy these down now?
Now,
Yeah.
we'll tell you what to do. Are you using a PC or are you using an Apple, a Mac?
I'm using a PC
Okay.
laptop.
If you go to Documents,
Yeah.
and you look, you'll see something that says, I think chat log. Hold on a minute and I'll confirm that. Yes, it'll say, no, wait a minute, is it?
Yeah. No.
Yes, it should be under, yes, it's under, yeah. Under Documents, there'll be something that says chat log go to webinar. You probably won't see it until it closes.
Oh, okay. It's not there now.
But when it closes, look for chat log go to webinar. It'll say Schmier Room, SCHMIER, and it'll open a Word document with the whole of the chat in it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I've copied them and pasted them into my notes. So if you want to share with me in the chat room your email, I can email those off to you directly.
Okay, as a backup plan if the
Yeah.
other doesn't work. Right.
Right, and the other thing is that if we don't have your email, Lou and Susan, please let us have it because we'll make sure you're in our reminder, and then you're in our
Great.
list, and you'll get a reminder, excuse me, before each meeting. And we sign you up for the webinars. You'll also get a notice of the webinars. We have an interesting webinar coming up at the end of the month. Nancy Novak, who runs Nancy's List, and which is a list of resources for cancer patients, all kinds of resources. And we're going to ask her to pick out her 10 favorite. She's been doing this. She's been running Nancy's List since about 2007, and she's an ovarian cancer, stage 4 ovarian cancer survivor. So if you you can send, if you want to send them publicly, that's fine. If you want to send them to me in the chat window, that's fine too. And we'll just make sure, or to Michelle, and then we'll make sure you get into the list.
Great, thank you.
And if all else fails, just email me and I can give them to you again.
That seems to be the answer to almost everything. Sally seems to have access to every piece of information.
Sally's is the glue. Just as we will be rescheduling the blood cancer webinar that we were going to have this month. We had a few glitches in trying to get enough people onto the web, not for signing up, but for actually appearing. But we will return to that next year, and we're definitely going to hold it. So we're sorry if it caused you any inconvenience this time around. So
We are, and I know it's a tough night, and that it is the Thursday of the last holiday weekend of the summer, at least for some of us. I know that maybe tonight everyone doesn't seem to be as verbose, but on the other side, maybe you should be. It's like the weekend almost, right? Anyone have anything else that they had wanted to bring up or talk about tonight?
Jim hasn't said anything.
Yeah.
Jim, you have not.
Well, anyway, I got the booster shot, and out of it, let's see, I believe a sore arm, and that's about it. But other than that, prostate cancer is good. Let's see, treatment now for 4 years, and it's going good. And I don't know if that's me causing the noise.
No,
No.
it's Jose. It's Jose, but we'll come to Jose momentarily.
So other than that, as I say, anyway, exercise for me shall be the key. Anyway, I am out generally, okay, every day, okay, on a bicycle. So exercise is the key. Hydration also. Extreme hydration, actually, I think. Okay, it's a personal opinion.
How's your sister doing?
She had a treatment, I hear, about 2 days ago, okay, and it happened to cause her anyway to sleep a lot. So I called her about the time it started, and she was just up, and she was a little bit groggy. So I don't think she will attend it. So although Sally, she was supposed to contact you. Did she ever do it? Probably not. No?
Sally?
Sally? I don't think she can hear us. I see her lips moving.
You're muted right now, Sally. Oh, she may be having trouble with her. Maybe having trouble.
It looked like she got a phone call. She was
Ah,
on the phone with someone.
Okay. Well, other than that, I am doing extremely well, considering.
okay. Jim, why don't you tell people why you're attending this group for the new people?
Is this better?
Oh, we can
Yeah.
tell
Oh, there's
you,
some
Sally.
huge background noise.
There's nothing here. I've got nothing going on.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, she's up in like Santa Maria.
Okay.
She's getting
Oh,
calls.
I think we hear the phone call.
Lorena, probably the advocate for that.
Okay.
Let's just mute
Can we-
Sally. There we go. Sorry. So yes.
Yes, anyway, I'm here because of the initial diagnosis. They happen to find it, okay, in the 2 large lymph nodes within the back. And so from there, they said, oh, you've got the prostate cancer. So from there, anyway, I was referred to a urologist, okay, out of a gastroenterologist. So anyway, I'm here because I know it's within the system. So eventually, I don't know precisely what it will do, okay, after it is there circulating around. So anyway, I decided to attend this group, okay, to find out things. So here I am.
Okay. Seth, and then we'll go to Jose. Seth, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about tonight?
Not particularly. I had some good news from my I do this all the time. When it comes to naming specialist names, they fly right out of my head. But the blood tests to verify that the Forteo that I'm taking is doing any good showed up positive.
Wonderful.
Improved bone formation.
Right.
Endocrinologist That was the doctor who I just had a consultation with. And his blood tests verify that I am making more bone as a result of the Forteo I've been taking for some time now, which is really good because I had a problem with just mysterious bone fractures happening out of nowhere, not the result of any trauma. That's how I broke both of my hips. The right hip I broke in 2017, and that was a replacement. My left hip I broke last year in June, and was very, very lucky that it did not require a hip replacement. It just healed with rest. But I was getting tired of these mysterious fractures, and he put me on Forteo. And knock on wood, I haven't had any more fractures yet. But then again, I've gone longer than this without fractures anyway. But it's good to know that the blood tests indicate that I'm responding positively to that treatment.
How long have you been on Forteo?
I think I started it in March. Yeah.
And do you experience any side effects from it?
No, that was actually the focus of my questions, and the answer is no. Naturally, can't remember exactly what the biggest side effect was, but I was not experiencing that when we spoke. So as far as I know, it's not giving me any problems. Although, I'm sure all of us know when you read those side effect notes, they're 5 pages long and could be everything. But as far as I know, no, it's been good to me. Otherwise, I have a lot of trouble with back pain, and it's all a result of all the damage myeloma did to my bones, especially my back and my spine, rather, before it got under control. And so I'm waiting to I've had an MRI, but I'm waiting to have a consultation with a interventional pain doctor from Sloan Kettering. And I hope they will be able to do something for me soon. It's amazing that I forgot all about it, but back in the summer of 2015, they did something like a nerve block for me, which worked really well. And I actually forgot all about it. They did tell me at the time that, it will grow back. And I'm sure it grew back a long time ago, but I forgot all about the procedure. And when it dawned on me and I asked about it. Anyway, that's in the works, and I certainly hope that they can do something for me, because the back pain, even if it's not screaming high-level pain, it's just a constant nagging, dragging you down kind of pain that drives me crazy and can really get in the way of activity.
So we are huge believers at ANCAN in palliative medicine. For those of you, if any of you saw the webinar we did on Tuesday night, you'll have seen BJ Miller, who's an incredible palliative care doc. And most people don't understand that palliative care is not the same as end of life. They associate it with end of life. It is not end of life. It's about essentially improving your quality of life when you are living with a chronic condition. And so we encourage any of you with a serious chronic condition, serious cancer, an advanced recurrent cancer, blood cancers, to add a palliative care doc to your team if you can. the earlier the better, because they're going to help you with a lot of issues around living with your disease. And most of the hospitals that you're attending have palliative care groups. They may call them something else. For example, at UCSF, they call it the Symptom Management Service. And I forget what MSKCC has another euphemism, but the two best palliative care groups in the country are MSKCC and UCSF. The docs are brilliant, and they really have the training in managing the symptoms, which a lot of times the oncologists don't have. It just to bear in mind, to try and get one of those guys on your team, and then they're there to talk to about all kinds of stuff, especially if your oncologist doesn't have time when you come for the appointment. You can go talk to the palliative care doc about a lot of the things that you would, also want to talk to your oncologist about. I really recommend them.
They are the ones who supervise my fentanyl and oxycodone prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been wearing a fentanyl patch 24/7 for years now.
Yeah, and they're good at it, and a lot of it in a lot of situations, not a lot, but in enough situations, and this is something we touched on in the webinar, Managing Your Healthcare Team, on Tuesday night, but we're going to come back to it. Sometimes the oncologists are reluctant to involve the palliative care docs because they feel like they're losing control of the case, when in fact what it should be is that everybody's contributing together. And I'm glad that you're hooked up with them, Seth, and use them for, if you have nausea, for example, from your treatment, talk to them, because they're on top of the latest nausea drugs, whereas your oncologist may be using the same nausea drug they've been using for the last 5 years because they just haven't kept up on that literature. So let's talk to Jose. Jose, you're muted right now. We'll unmute you and welcome you.
Jose's on twice.
And we have two Jose's.
So let's just. Are you there, Jose? We're getting a lot of feedback. Speak up. Come in, Jose. We should make Herb a moderator so you can help us out with this. Make organizing.
Jose, we see, well, we don't see your face, but we can't hear you when your microphone is on because it's filled with static.
Try again, Jose. Let's unmute you. Who's going to do that?
I will.
Okay. So let's unmute you and see if we can hear you.
Here he is. Oh, no, he muted himself on this one.
Okay. So go down to the green microphone and unmute yourself. Go down to, well, it'll be a red microphone in your case, and click on it one time and it should turn green, we hope. No?
Jose, can you, I don't know if you have chat capability to let us know that you can hear us. We don't even know if you can hear us.
So, well, if you figure out how to unmute, we're here. We'd love to talk to you, find out what brings you to the call. So, all right. So we have a few minutes left. Have we covered everything, or is there anything anyone, oh, I should mention to Susan that Herb is also a DMV resident.
Yeah, we've actually, we're about 5 blocks apart.
Are you
No.
really?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
probably passed each other on the street or,
I walk her, when I take walks, I walk down her street.
Isn't that
Oh.
amazing? And now you're going to
Well-
start running into each other all the time.
right? Stop by. I mean, we should arrange for that. We can have
Yeah.
a walk together.
Well, especially since you're an epidemiologist and my wife is a biostatistician.
Ah, okay.
You guys will be doing research. You'll be going for a walk and come up with a
That's right.
research paper by the end of the walk.
Right.
So, Susan, don't tell us that you've worked at the NIH too. Have you worked at the NIH?
Not NIH, but related other places at HHS.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps another 3 initial agency,
Health and Human Services, right?
FDA,
Okay.
perhaps.
Okay.
Mom is the word here. We have these DC types.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
Well, I
that-
mean, actually, to be honest, there's in at least in the advanced prostate cancer group, it's just crawling with people from the DMV.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And for those of you who live in California, the DMV, oh, Sally's gone. The DMV is not the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. Okay. You know, the one thing that's really nice is that now, Herb, you've got a peer for your brother as well.
Right.
And
Right.
that is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, my brother, he lives a little further away. He lives in Kenwood.
Okay. So,
So,
Yeah.
oh, Susan, you had asked about, so I probably have become the worst germaphobe isolationist that there is because of fear because of all the consequences of catching COVID, what it could mean. So you were asking before of people what they were doing. I mean, I go outside and,
Mhm.
but for socialization, I will not go to, if a friend's having a barbecue, I will not do that. If it's just 2 people having us over outside for dinner and we're spaced apart, like we had company the other night, they sat on, on one side of a fire pit, we sat on the other, and and they were outside, and we have a bathroom that people use away from everybody else, and if people need it. So that would be, I am very cautious.
I feel comfortable with that. And then my brother and sister-in-law come and visit, and they're, don't understand why I'm doing all that. I mean, part of that is also that multiple myeloma, and I don't know about the other blood cancers, but I can expect this to go on forever. So, and they're used to, you get treated for something and either it doesn't work or it works and then you go on with the rest of your life. And it's kind of an education process for me to talk to them about this is, I hope, will be just a chronic disease, which is interesting. Another conversation for another time, I think. But it's good to hear that other people are being that cautious. Thank you.
You're welcome. It is difficult. It is, and some people I know, blood cancer patients have actually lost friends over it because they don't understand or they don't respect the boundaries. So it's a strange time.
Yeah, I couldn't go to my one of my very good friends' baby showers because there were going to be too many people there. And, it's really sad. I feel really bad. Luckily, she understands, but it's just heartbreaking that I can't be there for her during this, such a joyous time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Michelle, how do you deal with what about the dog? What about Gabby? I mean, is that an issue for you? Do you feel
I mean,
you have to keep separate from Gabby?
no, she's probably the cleanest dog in Boston. Whenever we go for a walk, I I use little Burt's Bees wipes on her paws and her face. So, and, but she doesn't, well, we're home all the time. So it's not like she needs to go to daycare anymore. But in the beginning, they were shut down, but now she doesn't go, and that probably would be better for her to socialize. But then I would probably be worried about all the germs and who works at daycare, because the groomer had an outbreak of COVID and they had called us last week. And I was like, oh crap, how many days has it been, you know? And it brings in a whole different dynamic. It's weird, but I think she feels weird around other dogs now. It's like pick up on people, right? And I can tell, like, she's like, I don't know if I should go sniff you or not. So, but other than that, yeah, it's just odd times. It's from our experts here on our tonight, is there any hope in sight for us to be able to change living like this? That's the thing. I know.
Well,
Yeah,
I think,
I don't.
I mean, ultimately, this will end. I mean, we don't know when. I mean, where the problem is that we have a significant part of our population who doesn't want it to end. And for reasons I don't understand. But I think it will end one way or the other.
When you say one way or the other.
Right, either people get vaccinated or they're going to die.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I mean, I also think that that COVID is here to stay, and that maybe within a relatively few number of years, we'll be getting COVID booster shots each year, just like we get flu booster shots.
But that's for sure, Rick. But the issue is somebody's got, in order to really make us all safe, we need to have the population vaccinated.
Well, that's right. I agree. And those people who don't get vaccinated will die off. It's a sort of survival of the vaccinated, and the unvaccinated. Either they'll figure it out and get vaccinated, as some of them are right now, slowly, but they are, or they're going to get sick and they're not going to be around, and it's very, very sad. But
Yeah, I know a bunch of people who their doctors advise them not to because of medical reasons.
Yes, agreed.
So we need herd immunity to protect them. But then you have, you know, on the other hand, there are people who I also know who don't believe in getting the vaccination, don't believe in any type of precaution, and it's really infuriating.
Agreed. And I was referring to the second lot, not the first lot, because Alexa is in the first lot, and she's just waiting to find out when the trials come back with the results that it's safe enough for her to get a vaccine. And I really
she's terrified.
Right. You know, she doesn't want to get a vaccine because of a medical condition. But for those people, that's a real issue, and I don't know. But for the people who are just saying that, you know, because of their political beliefs, they don't think they should get vaccinated, they're going to figure out that eventually they're going to get sick and they won't be with us. And, you know, by the time they figure it out, it's going to be too late. Anyway.
Let's give Jose one more try. Jose, would you like to say anything this evening? And if not, that's okay too. Okay, so our next meeting, if no one else has anything to say, is, let's just see, October 7th. Oh my God, we'll be well into fall.
Right.
Thursday, October 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is always the same link for those who are new with us tonight.
And, you know, before we go, if there are other people, I wish them a happy and healthy new year.
Thank you. Yes, I do too.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
There he is.
Can
I
I
knew Lynn was
just,
coming. Lynn, you
Can
you
I-
joined us as we're saying goodbye. I was wondering where you were.
I have been watching the U.S. Open table tennis.
The US Open table tennis. Oh my God.
Excuse me, U.S. Open tennis.
Oh,
I'm
tennis.
in New York.
Okay.
Are you in New
Well,
York?
good in New York. Well, good evening, everybody. I was at MD Anderson last week for my checkup and CAT scan. Everything's good.
Well,
My
that's
doctors told me to go ahead and get the third vaccine, so I'll be getting that in another week probably.
I was wondering how you made out. And you've gotten all your test results?
I have received all my test results. Everything looks good.
Great.
Fabulous.
I've been on ibrutinib for 7 years.
Wow.
Wow.
That is amazing.
But
Did they-
everybody looks good. Nobody else is in the dark like I am.
There are a few of us that are in the dark, even though we look like we're in the light.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
We haven't lost electricity yet.
Are you do you have are you in the dark for a reason? Have you been ID'd?
Well, I think my electricity still works, but no, I'm in the living room with my wife, and we have the lights turned down low. I'm sitting in the love seat, but she's across the room in a different chair.
Okay. Okay.
So
We have a message from so Jose.
Oh.
Hopefully you can understand English. He's not here tonight, but our friend Al has polycythemia vera, and he's Spanish speaking. So what I'd like to ask you is if you can put your email in the chat window, I will ask, or a telephone number, I will ask Al to reach out to you. He lives in Tucson. I don't know where you live. He lives in Tucson. He's not here tonight. He'll probably be at the next meeting, but if you give us a way to reach you, Jose, I will have Al talk to you.
Oh,
So,
El Bonzo este año.
yeah, my Spanish is not that good, I'm afraid. Do we have any Spanish speakers on this call or not? But he also he was diagnosed. He was diagnosed at the end of last year, and he's being treated. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. I'll ask Al to reach out to you, and you can exchange telephone numbers. Where do you live?
I've been trying to send kind of Spanglish when I'm remembering. Let me think.
Google tells me that he said his spleen was removed this year.
Oh,
right.
Donde es, how do you say address? Donde es, where
We're
is,
working on it, Jose.
I know how to say, okay, donde es,
¿Dónde es residencia?
¿Dónde está?
K-A-2, what direction?
Oh, you're in
He lives
Venezuela.
in Venezuela.
Okay. So look, let's do this. We're delighted you found us, and I will I'll talk to Al. His name is Alberto Rubalcaba, and I'll get him to send you a note. So look out for that very soon. Okay? And thank you for joining us, and hopefully we can help you. Al is being treated in at MD
Oh, wow.
Anderson in Phoenix.
Yes. So what he just told us is he's having difficulty getting medicine.
Yeah.
In Venezuela.
Yeah, I'm sure. And maybe we can try and reach out to MD Anderson in Phoenix and see if there's anything that if they have any ideas as well for him. I'll talk to Al about this when we hang up. But we have this. Okay, fantastic.
Oh, Ashley, thank you.
Right.
Ashley,
My
just
rudimentary Spanish.
better than my rudimentary Spanish. I was sending one. That's thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. See, it was good paying attention in the Spanish lessons at school.
I'm taking Spanish now through an app.
Oh, good. Good for
Here's a
you.
chance to use it.
Good for you. Okay. All right. Well,
Hang on.
that's it for tonight. It's been a great session. And we should probably also mention that Herb is also on our board of directors. So that's another feather in his cap, and I'm so happy that
Yeah, I have so many feathers that I'm going to float.
and I'm just thrilled that the two of you, Susan and Herb, live in the same neighborhood. That's really something. That's great. I love it when this happens. Okay, everybody. We'll post it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you all for joining us.
Take care.
See you next
Bye.
month.